Hi, Joseph. Here we are. Good morning or good afternoon. Number 5, version 200. My password, our passwords. And I have to check 4 steps. First step, we have to check if you save your version at the proper place and you did it and you renamed it, okay? And I think you have fixed all your problems before this version. And I have to check if you have the modes 10, list of activities and station. Please pay attention, we have 3 different modes or views. The first means essential attributes, the second means try to show you restrictive attributes, and the third one means attributes for analysis. There are too many attributes to show just in one table, so it's time to split it in 3 tables. Then you have to show us nodes and the codes if you want to place code before, but after having your codes you may hide it. The codification, I think it's very important not to mix these projects, these activities from this project with other ones from other projects. Note the DPH type means milestones. You can see if the activity is a duration activity, a target duration activity, or a productivity one, or even a supervision. I mean, that activity that is commanded by 2 different activities in a group. The number of days, remaining days, okay? Volume block and unity from volume block. I've checked that this is a user field and this is another user field for the deliverables. But you also have to show volume, standard fields, internal standard fields, volume remaining to be done, and units of volume. These 2 fields refers exclusively for activities. So the volume here refers to the volume in our projects. Each product, each volume has its own volume and the units. So when you transport it, you transport 100% or you transport 9 cubic meters. When you inspect it, you inspect 900 meters, 9 cubic meters or 100%. We advise you to assemble 9 cubic meters. We define that assembling the volume is more engineering way of representing what you are going to do. Of course, transport 100%, or you transport it or do not transport. You have finished your inspection or not, so you may use 100%, because when you do all the work inside the deliverable, inside the products, you will finish the products. If you transport, assembly and inspect it, of course you have 9 cubic meters done. You place the volume here for the blocks, but you should place here not 100% of everything. You must fill these fields with a proper volume to be checked. If you do not plan here 9 cubic meters to be produced in the control monitor phase or stage, you won't be able to say, I have done 2 cubic meters from 9 we were expected to do. So I think you should revise these columns here. Anyway, they are essential attributes here. If you look into the Gantt diagram, calculate them. If you look into the Gantt diagram, in this moment it will be a nonsense because you have not finished all the steps to check your project schedule. Anyway, I think the correct order is you transport the block, you assemble the block at the right place, and after you get the inspection, final check of everything. So I think you should rethink and reschedule these 3 standard steps. I am deleting all the links, and I will delete also this link, and I'll say first transport, secondly assembling, and after all inspecting. This is the fragment. This is, I think, the proper way to produce door type 001. It happens to all your fragments type. Fragment means a small standard way of scheduling. Okay, you may change the order here just to make it beautiful, more nice. That's nicer than this. Anyway, so essential attributes should be found here. Production network means that you can see the predecessors and successors, because in Spider you cannot edit here. You just see who is preceding and who is succeeding a specific activity. If you prefer, you may hide by setting primary unchecking phase. You may see just the activities, production activities, and it will be, I think, easier to understand the flow. After inspection, I will start transports, calculating. But I note something in your scheduling. Imagine if you schedule your production, activity production, direct to work. You have direct to work starts and direct to work finish. Just after the direct to work finish, just after, you go to closure processes, closure activities. So double click on closure, check links. Now I will delete all links. And I'll say, after finishing direct work, I will proceed with my closures processes. Okay, and after finishing my closure process, I will really finish my whole project milestone. I will delete finish links. I'll delete your finishing milestone in order to make my own connections. Closure, and then I finish my whole work in my projects. Let's see if it works. Okay. But before I start my direct work activities, I need to plan. And it seems here that you are planning while you are doing something from your direct work status. So I will again delete all links to make my own, not yours, on my own way of sequencing. Planning, and then after planning, DirectWorks starts. Okay, DirectWorks starts precedes the first activity of my production line. Okay, what do we have now? We have a start, a planning phase to think what about going to do, a complete DirectWorks production, and then, and just after the last one, that means landscaping, I will finish my DirectWorks, and then I will proceed starting my closure works activities, and then I will finish my job. Okay, if I come back to production network modes with all the phases together presented, I may academically or didactically say to you, DirectWorks are being supervised by the hammock, and just the DirectWorks is being supervised by supervision. No one is supervising planning or closure. That's the way we are scheduling it. But remember, the way you schedule your work is a straight line from the first to the last without paralleling, without making things together. You decided to produce the complete floor one, and then, and just after the last activity, you decide to start the second floor. It's your idea. If you, instead of make a line, a direct straight line, you could consider starting floor number one, first pavement, and the second would start just after the first block being completely done. What would you have? You would have your floor one being produced, and just immediately, as soon as possible, the second floor starts. You need the first block to be placed in order to have your second floor block to be placed over it. And do not let this last activity hanging. You have to lead the last block, the last activity, production activity, somewhere. Probably the last nearest milestone. And I think you should check. I can place this block over the first one, but can I fix the second block just after the first on the second floor? Or I have to wait the second block from the first floor to be placed and completed before placing. Placing is not transporting, it's assembling. So the idea of producing this work should be rethought. Or do you have to think again? Probably the secret is under the assembly. After rescheduling all your fragments, you'll be able to do this. Production network, just to see in an easy way the linkings between activities and the columns. Please note that we have the code, activity code here, not the name of activity. Is it easy to you to understand the predecessor's codes? Let's see code here. Size 21, 22, 23, 6, 7, 8. Okay, it's unique, and if it helps you, no problem. Okay, essential attributes should have a zap. Okay, calendars. We have two calendars here. You may have a lot of calendars. I'm not sure what the exercise asks you to do. to produce. But anyway, we have two calendars here. All the duration was fixed in 5 days. I think you should read the next attachment in Unit 1. You see that each block has its own standard or defined duration remaining, or defined duration to be scheduled, not 5 days for everybody. Mode 15, okay. Mode 24, restrict constraints attributes or restrict attributes. Calendar is a restriction, so probably calendar won't be an essential one. Okay, no problem if you present them the calendar in the two modes. But calendar is a restriction that it blocks. Do not allows you to work every day. So it's a restriction. Priority is a restriction because you have to decide which is more important, and it will help you when you have to decide which block must be scheduled first if you have a problem of resource limits or resource availability. But do not make these properties too near each other. You may say 100,000, 70,000, 100,000, 70,000, 50,000, not too near, because you may place some activity inside between them, and you have no value to be no value to make it different. Imposed data. It seems that imposed data here is a user field, but you have start nets. Start nets, show column, start nets. Start net, start not earlier than. Start not earlier than. And that is finish not later than. These are two constraints dates that may apply to your activity, that may fix into your activity. The only one that Spider does not break is start nets. If you say do not start before, not earlier. If you do, you say do not start earlier than, it will, okay, you place it here. But these user fields means, what is it for? What do you have user fields to make the same work as start net fields? Finish not later than will just represent it in your schedule. I mean, let's see here, transport. August 18. August 18, 2020. If you increase time scale and scroll to find the objects, you see a small triangle, yellow triangle here. Please, if Spider needs to calculate the dates, start and finish dates for each activity, it won't be frozen by the small yellow triangle. You made an annotation here, but the transport finish dates won't be fixes in this exactly time. It's just for you to understand, not later than. But if you fix not earlier than, that makes sense for Spider. And when you schedule it, it will respect these constraints, because it's dates, a constraints that really makes your schedule forces to obey a not earlier than. Not later than should make a schedule completely unfeasible, wrong. That's the reason Spider just respects the earlier than, not earlier than. Spider does not respect or does not freeze your schedule because some not later than. You do not have must start, maybe this, must finish. There is no influence in a real schedule process. The schedule here is not a lie. The schedule here is something calculated by start-finish dates from each activity. But you have imposed dates, no problem. But if you change it here, you will have to change your information here. They are not connected unless you make a formula. This field receives the contents of these fields by a formula. This is part 4, no, it's part 3. Part 3 of 4 restrictive attributes, okay. Lab calendars, space. Where is the space here? I mean, when you decide to make it at the same time, we have one block double window here being done at the same time at roof type here. First floor and second floor being built together. But remember, I need a space to transport, discharge, to assembly, to expect. So if you need a place, I think you should have a field here. Space. Where is the space? Unit is random. There is no space here. What is the space for? What is this? Why do you have space field for? Because space, space means I need, required space. Okay, sorry, I had not so clever as I think. Not 30 meters square meters. Required space 30. Sorry. Double click. Text, no, numeric, okay. Required space not for the block, but to work. To transport, I need to park my truck, and to discharge my block somewhere, and then I have to leave and drive out my truck. I need 10 square meters. You made it. Instead of square meters, just 30. Instead of 15 something, just 15. Okay. To transport, I need 15 square meters for my truck and my staff. To inspect, I need no space. I do not have space because people goes there walking and there is no equipment or any special large equipment. Assembling, have the 15 square meters. If I have the same space needed to do all my things, all my activities, you would have a conflict, a space conflict. As inspection 0, assembling 15, inspection, assembling, inspection, assembling. Okay, assembling 15, inspection. Okay, if you have two blocks being built at the same time, probably you would need 15 square meters, not for the face, not for the block. Okay, deleting blocks, spaces, something like that. Okay, if you need 15 square meters here and here, you could see at your sites that you do not have 15 to 30 square meters to make the transport simultaneously. But you have to write it down here. Somewhere in the future, when you are going to finish our planning or scheduling, you will see that we have not enough place to make everything we want in this way of scheduling. We must schedule it as soon as possible, in the best way, with ASAP, as soon as possible mode. But in the future, you will check if you have enough space, enough resources, enough money to fulfill all your desires, all your schedule, desirable schedule. Okay, restrict attributes, a list of restricted activities. I think the translation was not a happy translation. Let's change it. View, other, layouts, control, keyboard presses, list of activities, and restrict or constraints attributes. You have essential attributes, constraint attributes, and here analysis. Okay, attributes for analysis or analysis attributes. Okay, here, and constraint attributes. Okay, check this. We have also list of attributes for analysis. Okay, why do we have this mode view or this view? Because duration, after scheduling and sequencing it, must be analyzed under this final schedule. Float days, how many days I may not delay, I may reschedule. I am not allowed to delay anything, but how many days I may reschedule this activity without affecting my next activity. Float free has a meaning, float total has another one. So it seems that there is no total float for these activities. That seems to me that these activities, if they had their duration according to our attachment, if we have the schedule way of producing defined, that means that any of these activities may be rescheduled or can be delayed by any way because they have no total floats, and the critical critical field is filled with number 1. That means they are critical according to critical pathway of calculating. Critical activity is a field. Drag days. Drag days is a specific and special field. Drag duration percentile. But to have this calculation done, you have to also click on reserves and say, please calculate drag information. Spider does not calculate anything unnecessarily. You have to check it. Okay, the schedule will be slow, the scheduling process will be slower, and you see that you have 5 days for drag days. I mean, you may reduce the time of transport up to 5 days in order to have a earlier project finish date without creating another critical path. As you schedule everything in a straight line, and because all the duration are the same, these drag days don't help us to analyze our schedule. They are calculated here, but they are analyzed. Drag duration means you should have a formula here to see how much days from the duration days you may reduce the percentage of gain you will have reducing your remaining days activity is remaining days. But as your schedule is so straight, line straight, we would say the formula would give us 100% every time we calculate it. Let's see if I have a formula. Formula? You do not have a formula. And it's impossible to reduce 5 days from 5 days. You are eliminating the transport. It's no sense. But you have 10 days, and drag days means 2. 2 in 10 days should represent, I think, 20%. 20% means that you could reduce 10 days into 8 days without creating another critical path, but reducing 2 days in final project finish dates. Analysis, not only drag, critical, floats. Let's see, drag duration, okay. And the last mode we asked you to make is 26 project schedule. Project schedule means the duration, activity is duration, activity starts, activity is finish. The type of activity, what we are working, the units of work, the calendar to show us where we work and where we do not work, when we work and when we do not work, and the way ASAP the ASAP way of scheduling is. Code is necessary to identify, WBS codes to identify the hierarchy, the name, nodes are important. So schedule, project schedule mode is the final approach of everything we made, informing essential attributes, analyzing the networking, informing constraint attributes to make our schedule more real, listing attributes for analysis, where can I get some resource use, where can I get some days in whole project day duration. So we have too many modes, too many views to help us to finish our schedule. They are sequence, the activities are sequences, the activities are defined in their duration, production time. The activity has their start and finish very clear, and schedule means start and finish for every activity. To make it beautiful, whole projects show links in a traditional way, and preserve layouts as current. So if you navigate to other modes, when you go to project schedule, you see the beautiful schedule you have produced. Okay, start. My opinion, it's not a rule. Start, just dates. Finish, just dates. Unless you are making a project of hour by hour to be controlled, to be checked. But I don't think this blocking buildings project should be checked and monitored hour by hour. So if you decide to make it by seconds, you may show it here. But I think not to pollute anything, they don't. Please remember, where is it? Control Shift plus W keyboard key. Make all the columns fitted properly. Minimal space to be used here. Layout, save project as current. Okay, there are too many things to rethink. There are too many things to fix before going to Unit 3. Please do not forget to watch video from student number 003. Okay? Bye-bye, Joseph.